everybody, and welcome back to my channel for this Friday morning, afternoon or evening across the world where you may be at. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you're all having a great start to your weekend, whatever you may be doing. And today I just want to do a little quick video about what autism is and autism isn't. I've been watching a few autism based podcasts recently, and something that keeps being dropped into conversation or brought up in the topic of discussion is autism being called a disorder. This really frustrates me and makes me so annoyed and angry, because autism, yes, medically in the DSM and by the American Psychological Association, they call it autism spectrum disorder, same as the UK where I'm based, but a lot of autistic people do not agree with the autism spectrum disorder. We use autism spectrum condition or autism spectrum, and for that reason it should be observed as so and respected as so. And a lot of these podcasts, you say, oh, well, you have autism spectrum disorder. Please do not use the word disorder when it comes to people or individuals on the autism spectrum, because it's wholly offensive, it's stigmatizing, it's labeling, it belittles us, makes us feel like we're stupid and broken and damaged and sick and not worthy of any form of respect or appreciation of our neurodivergency. Another thing that I notice as well in these podcasts that I've been watching is something called being like discriminatory. The language, it's very ableist based. A lot of the language is, oh, well, you struggle with this and therefore you have a deficit, or therefore you have a deficit in communication. And that really frustrates me again, because we don't have deficits, we have differences, and the sooner that people recognize this, the better. The word deficit again implies that we're broken, we're damaged, we don't function, or we have a deformed brain, and that really irritates me, because it's not fact, it's not right. And I wish that podcasters who talk about autism publicly or do these pre-recorded podcasts that I've been watching, they need to really look at their language and the way that they use the medical language and general autism specific language as such, because a lot of people shouldn't use autism spectrum disorder as the main word. It's not a disorder, it's a difference, it's a neurodiverse difference. We communicate differently, we behave differently, we see the world differently. It's not that we're disordered or we're abnormal or we're broken or we're deficit or we're sick or we don't make sense or we don't behave properly. This is really damaging to the autistic community and the neurodiverse community and the disability community and the mental health community as a whole. And I think the sooner we put our foot down and put a stop to this kind of language, it's going to make it easier for all of us to be accepted and treated like the adults that we are. Because a lot of autistic people become autistic adults. And again, the language is very baby-like. It is very immature, very ableist. It's like, oh, well, they struggle, they don't understand, they don't get why they say things like what they do, or they don't get why they act like they do, like, they struggle with communication, they struggle with being appropriate, or they struggle with being out in public. No, we don't. A lot of us are able to successfully take part in communication. Yes, it may be a struggle. Yes, you may have to plan what we're saying, or yes, you may have to try and be ahead of the conversation, but we are not deficits, we are not broken, we're not abnormal, we're not disordered, we're not mentally broken, we're not mentally impaired. Please, will you stop with this ableist language? It's so destructive. It's so unfair. It's so not needed. It's just very upsetting. It's very judgmental. It's labeling. It's stigmatizing. And saying things like, oh, we lack empathy. Again, this is another thing that I've noticed. Please stop saying that autistic people lack empathy. In fact, we have so much empathy for most of us that we overcare so much that we put our own health at risk and our own rights and our own life at risk. And for you guys in the medical field to say, oh, autistic people don't get empathy, or we don't know how other people feel. Yes, we do. It's just the fact that we struggle to process it. We struggle to know what's happening or understanding that person's body language, or because we're struggling to process our own at the same time. But to say, oh, you lack empathy, or you're cold, or you're rude, or you're blunt, or it simply is not the case. Some of us, yes, may not have the mental and physical capacity to understand people or be able to associate with people, but to label us all in one box, to say things like, oh, we're broken, or we're disordered, or we have deficits in our brain, or we can't function properly, it is so stigmatizing. It's so rude. It's very discriminatory. It makes us sound that we're just awful people to be around, and that simply is not the case. A lot of autistic people like myself, we want acceptance. We want our voices heard. We want to be accepted. We want to be valued and loved, and not to be judged and made fun of, or made to feel like we're absolute stupid, or to be made that we're less than, which a lot of the time, sadly, I am going to say this, it's going to be a bit negative, a lot of people tend to think that we are not worthy of talking to, or we're just not right in the head, or, and that's simply not the case. A lot of autistic people have very good coping strategies. They know how to successfully communicate. We have people who actually help us and understand our needs, our wants, our behaviours, our coping strategies. There is ways that we can successfully function and take care of ourselves, and that means our family, our friends, our acquaintances, our employers, our friends, our social circles. We're not these deformed, deficit people, these people who are so tragically suffering or so tragically behind that we don't realise we're not behind. That's another thing I want to put to the equation. Please stop talking about us like we are children, because we are not. A lot of us are late diagnosed adults like myself, who was diagnosed in her 20s. I'm now in my mid-30s. And it's just so insulting, it's so rude, and it belittles our fight every day just to survive in a world that's not built for us. This world, unfortunately, is not built for the standard all autistic community or neurodiverse community. It is very judgmental. We have got a little bit better with acceptance, and yes, the language is getting better, but we've still got a long way to go before we get fully acceptance, fully understanding, and the right medical language of how to communicate with autistic and neurodiverse people like myself. Also, they say about people like me who, struggle to behave properly, or that we don't communicate in the right way. It's not the fact we don't communicate in the right way. We have a lot of mental processes that we have to go through, such as the forced eye contact and processing our language, our tone, our voice, our speech, what we say, how we say it, when we say it, who we look at, who we don't look at. And a lot of people, again, take that as a weakness. They say, oh, what's wrong with you? Why can't you give eye contact? Please just stop and take a minute and really think about what you're saying. Eye contact should not matter. As long as the autistic person is acknowledging you and listening to you and believing in you and actually wanting to talk with you, then let them be themselves. Don't force the eye contact issue as much. Don't say, oh, why won't you look at me? What's wrong with you? Look here and look here and look at me and look up. And no, it's uncomfortable. It shouldn't be an expectation of I have to look at you to communicate. I can lip read, I can listen. As long as I'm showing that I'm interested with you on the conversation, I shouldn't have to look at you. And also, again, it's saying things like we have deficits. Yes, we may struggle in communication and expressing our thoughts and our feelings, yes, but we're not deficit. It just means that we take a while to mentally and physically and emotionally process. Like tomorrow, I'm going to the local pub to watch the local soccer match, local football match here in the UK, but soccer for you Canadians and Americans and anyone else across the world who may be watching my channel. And tomorrow, I know I'm going to be probably a little bit overstimulated and overwhelmed with the amount of people, but I'm going there with my family. I know I'm going to be safe. And a lot of people will say, oh, Gemma, why would you go there? It's crowds, it's noisy, it's busy. There's going to be people who don't understand in case you might have a meltdown or whatever. It's the fact that I like to be social. I like to test my communication skills. I like to go out and prove myself. I don't want to be stuck at home thinking, oh, I wish I'd gone out. I wish I'd tried. So again, don't judge all autistic people as being homebodies or not wanting to go out or not wanting to be social. That is so far from the truth. A lot of us do want to be social. A lot of us do love to be out with friends and family. But a lot of us need that help and support to do that and to get there. And that is why my local friends and family, my local pub, do support me with that. They know that I'm autistic. They know I might struggle. They know I might get overwhelmed. But they still support me to go out. They still say, come on, Gemma, you can do this. Come on, Gemma, we'll help you. Come on, Gemma, we'll take care of you. And that's just these little nudges that encourage you to go out and about and be social. Please don't assume that we are antisocial or rude or refusing to go. It's not the case. It's just simply putting the coping strategies in place to be successful and to help us through the day. Again, that's something else that often gets thrown in my face. Oh, well, you're just not social. Oh, you just don't understand, Gemma. You don't get it. Sorry. So again, it's not all autistic people fit one mold. Not all autistic people are the same. We are all different people. We have different needs, different traits, different behaviours, different coping strategies. Don't just assume that autism is a deficit or a disorder or that it's a severe disability, because it's a difference. It's a gift. It's a neurodiverse way of thinking, seeing, feeling, understanding the world and people around us. And what I want people to understand is, please just accept me for being me. Accept autistic people for being themselves. Accept neurodiverse people for being themselves. Don't keep putting us in these boxes trying to make us conform. We are not made to conform to your boxes. These boxes are silly. They are not practical. They're not right. And we shouldn't be squashed down to your expectations. So please, guys, if you are talking to an autistic person or a neurodiverse person, please do not put these labels, these assumptions, these myths, these stigmatization remarks onto them, because it's going to make us feel belittled and upset and hurt, and you may have damaged them more than you have actually helped them. So I hope this video has helped you understand a little bit, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.